Yeah.
And the well is
Yeah.
the well is still producing, and there are a couple of truly amazing things about this well. First of all, it keeps producing from very shallow depth, just 110 meters deep, for over 12 years at the same flow rate, 1,500 cubic meters per day, without any sign of depletion or declination or whatsoever. And another significant thing about this well is that production pressure is not dropping; it is growing, and it has grown from 4.5 bar to 5. All right, all right. We waited. So we paused. The production, the pressure has grown from 4.5 to 5 bar since the well started producing commercially, and these two things make from the conventional petroleum industry viewpoint, it makes this well being very unique. From our perspective, based on the concept we operate, it's perfectly normal. And in fact, it was predicted by Dr. Larin 20, maybe 30 years ago when he first suggested to drill for natural hydrogen. So the well in Nebraska was spud in 2018 by Nikolai Larin and his team. And in the early 2020s, the things started happening with increasing speed. So Coloma is the biggest investment so far. To the date, they raised about 450 million US dollars in two series, Series A, Series B. With a number of major players like Bill Gates, Breakthrough Energy, Amazon, Green Energy Fund, Mitsubishi recently invested $50 million through the extended Series B and so forth. However, Coloma is not a public company, so they are private company. So they don't really have to share anything with the public, which they execute with enthusiasm. So it's a very close type company. But from what we hear, they keep drilling in the Mid-Continent Rift in the United States using 3 proxy companies. They don't drill directly on their own. And they so far, as of a couple of weeks ago, when they presented at the Australian Natural Hydrogen Forum in Adelaide, they drilled 10 wells so far, and with no success. All wells are dry. There is no significant success. They haven't shared too many details, but they announced that now they are actively looking for cooperation, which in our opinion means that they don't have much left from the scientific concept viewpoint. Maybe we're wrong, but this is how we interpret this, because they admit they've been standalone for quite a bit of time, and now the situation has changed. So and another company here in Australia, in South Australia, the company named Gold Hydrogen, drilled a couple of wells last year, and they identified up to 95% of hydrogen. They repeated the historical well in their license area. Ramsay Old Bore, drilled in 1931, about 100 years ago, where hydrogen was detected to substantial concentrations. And they simply mirrored it. Once again, they achieved a wonderful result in terms of hydrogen concentration, up to 92%, and especially helium, almost 37%, which is probably the world record. But the problem with with these wells is that they don't have a flow. Because hydrogen is captured, encapsulated in the subvertical fractured zones. So obviously it got there from somewhere, from below. but they don't have means to identify the conduit. Simply said, they don't really know what to do with it. And without the strategy, without substantial progress on this, their stock is going down currently. So unfortunately, so we offered them our services several times. We offered them to cooperate. They never came back. So we watched their shares, their stock going down. Anyway, so next, this is our team. If I may introduce our team. So this is myself. This is Nikolai. Larin in the process of drilling this first well in Nebraska 5 years ago. And we're both on PhD programs, although with different institutions. Nikolai published 26 papers, 2 manuscripts, registered 4 patents. So he's the source of IP in our enterprise. I'm more like a business engine for it. So this is the squeeze out the essence of the primordial hydridic earth concept as formalized by Dr. Larin. So this is what we are looking for. This is what we're exploring for. The streams, jet streams, so-called chimneys of hydrogen emerging towards the surface. And with time, these jet streams become more packed, which makes them more convenient for exploration. However, closer to the surface, these packed streams become more dissipated, start fanning due to the lithostatic pressure gradient drop. So simply because there are more pores and fractures and faults and shear zones closer to the surface, so the rocks, the formations are less compacted, and hydrogen finds multiple exit ways towards the surface. So on the surface, more often than not, hydrogen forms so-called we call them circular depressions. Some people call them fairy circles, which term we don't really support. And so the philosophy we pursue is this is the blowout of this section here. So the main goal here is to drill into these structures below this dissipation point, below hydrogen starts fanning, and tap into the most productive sections of these structures because they are not homogeneous. They are very much heterogeneous and anisotropic. So if we imagine the Mali well, it was positioned somewhere on the top of one of these microstreams, tapping the very top of the crust, 110 meters. So we suggest drilling vertical subvertical wells, crowfoot or fishbone boreholes with multiple completions, lower completions. And one structure may require several wells to be drilled like this. So once again, it depends on the structure type, size, its parameters and characteristics and so forth. So natural hydrogen rates, this is a very sensitive question since a lot of companies detect natural hydrogen, mostly accidentally, as for the when it comes to the oil and gas operators. But very few bother with recording the flow rate, which is one of the main commercial parameters. So we collected as many as we could find from the open sources. There are much more. There are thousands and thousands of wells around the globe where natural hydrogen was detected in the course of the past several decades. The problem was it was either ignored or deliberately ignored. Sometimes the operators conceal this data because they don't want to deal with hydrogen. They simply include it into the production mix. In some cases, there was no chromatograph at the mud logging system on the well site, or when chromatograph was included into the package, it was filled with hydrogen for carrier gas, which makes detecting hydrogen in the mix impossible. So it's only 10, maybe 15 years ago that oil and gas operators started including chromatographs as a standard part of the package, mud logging package, being filled with argon or nitrogen. So a couple of slides about hydrogen, natural hydrogen development scenarios. So on the macro scale, we suggest drilling drilling the wells, the boreholes, similar to oil and gas, similar to petroleum. They might get sometimes they might get quite deep. Nebraska well drilled by my business partner is 3,400 meters, 11,600 feet deep. So it requires substantial investment, but it must be worth the bounty. So those structures approached with the conventional oil and gas deep drilling, relatively deep drilling, have to be quite promising. On a smaller scale, Mali type seems to be the case, and which is already confirmed by the well in Buraki Bugu. And somewhere in between, we foresee the scenario we call harvesting, when hydrogen could be harvested, could be produced from the area, with which will require drilling several dozen or maybe 100 of shallow wells using cheap mining or waterborne technologies, and this concept might be a substitution for each of these two, Nebraska or Mali type, sitting, like I said, somewhere in between. Natural hydrogen resource types, they could be either replenished, like in case of Mali, it's already recognized officially, admitted officially that no shallow well like that could produce for so many years without the sign of depletion, if it's not replenished from below. So apparently it's replenished, and this is the case we're dealing with. In the Kansas case, several wells were drilled in Kansas late 90s, early 2000s, but a lot of them demonstrated the declination of hydrogen concentration. So we suggest, maybe there is something we don't know about those wells, but we suggest that those wells are not replenished from below. So this is the geography of our activities. The first well in Nebraska drilled by my business partner here. Quite a few things done in North Carolina and South Carolina. Nikolai making the soil gas detection hole in Morocco. This is Nikolai's father, Dr. Vladimir Larin, in the process of development of this method, which you are using these days, soil gas detection in 2007. Nikolai in Mongolia. This is the reading taken by Nikolai in Turkey, 1.4% of hydrogen from very topsoil, less than a meter. And this is my modest input in Australia, natural hydrogen concentration exceeding 2,000 ppm in Western Australia here. So all the readings and charts are real. They're not invented, so they're not just drawn on piece of paper. So this is our strategy. This is what we suggest for exploration strategy. Probably we are the first and probably the only company having formalized exploration strategy for natural hydrogen in the world. I haven't heard of any other companies having anything like this. So it's based on a typical subsurface exploration philosophy, whether we consider petroleum or mining minerals industries, it's all the same. we have to narrow down on a area of interest and a certain particular production structure while minimizing the risks with every next step, making it more and more detailed, making the model more and more detailed, and in order to proceed to the final investment decision, which in our case is drilling the exploration well. So first of all, we perform comprehensive desktop study, identifying the potential areas of interest and forecasting the potentially productive structures, hydrogen structures there. So then we go to the field and confirm more often than not, we simply confirm our conclusions of desktop study through the field soil gas detection and soil sampling for gas chromatography. Then we refine our geology model and make it more exact, more accurate. Then we plan the geophysical data acquisition. We use several methods. They are time proven. We just customize them to natural hydrogen resources. And then we simply proceed through with the final investment decision to drill or not to drill. So this is the end of this preliminary phase one of exploration process. So drilling the exploration well is phase two, apparently. So we apply for permit or lease after we conduct the desktop study. So we are quite confident where we want to work. And in some countries, it's absolutely necessary in order to go out there and start performing something on the ground. So we perform the risking process steps